A lot of people are under the impression that Noah's flood never happened.
Oh, well, I think I can help you with that one right there, Mattington Powellman. That's because, right, it didn't. And we know it didn't because there's no evidence for it. Well, actually, that's not strictly fair. I'm sure there's things that you think are evidence for it, but unfortunately they are far better explained by, or far better explain, other phenomena and or geologically historic events. Again, because there was no worldwide flood. Because that's dumb. I hope that helps.
And if you tell people that you believe in biblical creationism, sometimes they will laugh at you.
Sometimes? Now isn't that just the understatement of the century? Any person who isn't a dumbass sees anyone who believes a thing we know just isn't true is going to find that pretty goddamn hilarious. And you believe something that we know to be catastrophically untrue, to the point where any serious scientist studying the formation of the universe simply can't hold that view and be considered competent in their field.
But let me tell you, biblical creationism and Noah's flood are two verifiable things that you can show to be accurate.
They are? Well, it's so weird that that has literally never been done by fucking anybody, Matt. In fact, again, the only people who believe it have such a poor understanding of the science behind the origins of the everything that they think, well, God did it is even remotely a reasonable answer, and that the thorough explanations that we have developed purely by following the evidence to its conclusions must be wrong, because it makes their book, though, sound like it was written by morons who didn't understand how anything works, because they were and they didn't, respectively.
In this video, I'm going to give you 10 reasons why Noah's flood is a fact.
Well, I only have to give you one reason, which is because it fucking isn't. There is no evidence for a worldwide flood anywhere, which is strange, because you would think that if it were worldwide, it would be fucking everywhere. But what do I know? Apart from more than Matt, obviously.
Number one is because you find sea life on every single mountain. There are entire whales that we find perfectly preserved on top of mountains. We also find gigantic oysters, some as big as cars on the Andes Mountains. How did they get there?
Oh, straight into a swing and a miss there with that one, Matthew. What did I say about better explains or is explained by other things? Yeah, no, fossils of sea life on most mountains, most being important, and we will get back to that. But yeah, fossils, you know, things that take at least 10,000 years to form, little longer than Noah's fake flood, and they got up there from the shifting tectonic plates. For the two of you who don't know this already, mountains form when tectonic plates push together. One goes up, one goes down, and if one of them spent a lot of time as a seafloor before that, it's going to have a couple of fossils on it. And funnily enough, if it wasn't that, then it won't. Almost like that evidence is explained by actual science. And again, it's not all of them, Matt. And if this argument were to hold water, get it, wouldn't all mountains have them on? And you see, well, you lied that they do, so I assume that you know that. Because yeah, if the water was everywhere, all over the mountains, why don't some of them have sea life fossils on them? Is it because that's a bullshit explanation by morons? I think it might be.
And not to mention, these oysters are often sealed shut, and they were not even able to open when they died, as oysters and clams normally do.
I think he's trying to do the dinosaurs died the drowning thing that is just so fucking stupid. Again, fossils, Matt. Fossils prove you wrong by their very existence.
Evidence number two would be polystrata fossils. Think about it, we find trees that are upside down in some cases that are penetrating multiple layers of the geologic column. Now, if these layers slowly accumulated over millions of years, why is it that you have a tree that connects many of these layers? That means that the layers are an identical age, because trees aren't just going to stand there for millions of years waiting to be fossilized as sediment layers are slowly forming around them.
You know, the one thing about you, Matthew, is that I can always rely on you to ask questions that are really fucking easy to answer, because all you have to do is actually ask the question, while not being wherever he is today. I see he stood by Kent Hovind's bullshit mines. And again, it's a fossil, but let's ignore that, because first, we have a perfectly functional and, you know, correct explanation for how they work. But the real problem for you and yours is the forces involved, because if you have something that, according to your lot, can cut the Grand Canyon in about 5 minutes or whatever, then how the fuck is a tree going to stand up to that? Hint, it's not. That shit is getting blasted to fucking splinters.
It tells us that these trees were placed there by a cataclysmic process and not by slow and gradual change in the Earth's crust.
Yeah, of course, they were just delicately put down by tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and endless tons of fucking water. You know, because it's so gentle like that. And I like the fact that they are usually upright as well. Because, you know, knocked down trees always get up eventually for no fucking reason.
My third piece of evidence would be coal seams. Some of them are actually over 100 feet thick. Now, coal is made up of vegetation and swamp material and plants and trees that get smashed together between sediments. That's how coal is formed.
Are you fucking kidding me, Matty Boo Boo? Coal seams take millions of goddamn years to form. How the hell could that have happened less than 6,000 years ago? Unless the goddamn flood warped time and space around it, which I guess it fucking could have, considering the nonsensical shit already shown. But if magic god powers becomes your excuse, why even try explaining it with evidence? Magic doesn't need evidence. It's fucking magic. There's a reason why when you have a magical world for your story, the meme response to how does X fantastical thing work is a wizard did it. And if the Bible isn't a fantasy setting, I don't know what is.
And so in order to get a seam that's over 100 feet thick, you would have to have a globally cataclysmic event to be able to create such coal seams.
No, that's just not how that works, and you must know that. There's no way you got this picture without having seen something about how long it actually takes for coal to form. This is just so much worse for your claims than the fossils. Because at least you're only a few thousand years off with that, but with coal, the difference between how long it formed and how long you claim it took is the difference between millions of years and millions of years, you fucking dumbass.
The fourth piece of evidence would be rock arches. Think about it, rocks are actually breaking down. This mountain that's behind me is being broken down by gravity over time. Gravity is causing everything to erode flat. Could rock arches have been standing for millions and millions of years without crumbling down from gravity?
Matthew, gravity is not the only erosion force, you dipshit. Holy fuck. There's other things that make rocks erode, like wind. And yeah, I know where he's going with this, but water too. However, for rock arches, the most important part of water in their erosion process is ice. And funny thing about your alleged global flood, I don't fucking remember there being any ice involved. You think they might have mentioned it?
The answer is no. These rock arches were formed in the recent past by Noah's flood, by a globally cataclysmic event. And that's why they're still standing today, is because they were placed there in the recent past. They were formed in the recent history of the planet.
Placed. Fucking placed. Do you think they're all set down all nice like, you know, like the trees that are placed? The fuck, dude, no, that's not how they formed. And even though they formed in only a matter of a few thousand years, apparently, your thing took like a month. That's just not even remotely representative of the timescale. Come on.
And not millions and millions of years ago.
No one is claiming that they were formed millions of years ago, you fucking lying turd. God damn, do you think everything is either millions or 10 minutes old? What the hell is wrong with you? Oh, right, yeah, creationist.
My fifth piece of evidence would be hoodoos. Hoodoos are rock spires that often have very little debris at the bottom of them. Now, is it possible that these structures could be sitting there for millions of years and not have come crumbling down from gravity?
Oh wow, you actually got this one's time right. Purely by accident, I assume. But they do form over millions of years. And yes, because again, that's exactly how long they do take to form. And it's not gravity that forms them. It's again, ice. That ice that has nothing to do with your made-up Bible story. I wonder why.
Wouldn't these rocks have eventually broken down and become completely flat with the Earth's crust if millions of years of time were what had allowed them to be placed there?
No. You know how I know that? Because they fucking didn't. As erosion forces go, I would imagine that gravity just isn't the force that you seem to think it is. Wind, water, and again, ice cracking those rocks. Those are going to have a way more dramatic effect than the fact that things are heavy. I mean, I could be wrong, but the fact that you seem to forget all those other things makes me think that that probably is the case.
Let me tell you something. What placed these rock spires there, these hoodoos, was a globally cataclysmic event that happened in the recent past.
You've got to love the fact that these explanations explain absolutely fucking nothing. You notice how he's not actually presenting any sort of mechanism, simply stating that it happened, because he said so apparently. But Matt, that is not how science works. This is nothing, and without a coherent explanation, all I'm hearing is, here's the thing, and it happened, because God told me in a dream.
Noah's flood is a fact of geology, and the reason that we know that is because of these things that we are now observing in science that you can test and verify to be true.
Nope. Everything that geology says about Noah's flood is, what flood? Everywhere? And it went away in like a month? Nope, that didn't happen. What the f*** are you talking about? Geology is just like that. Geology don't take none of your shit.
My sixth piece of evidence would be mountains themselves. Many mountain ranges are made of bent rock. Now, according to Darwinists...
According to Darwinists. The fuck are you talking about, Darwinists? Who the fuck identifies as any sort of Darwinist? And what would his biological claims have to do with fucking geology? It's like you're trying desperately to sound as stupid as humanly possible. What a fucking joke.
The plates are moving 1 to 2 inches per year, and it causes mountains to slowly get formed. But if that were true...
It is true, you fucking asshole. Sorry, it's just now he's jumped from pretending these other forces don't exist to just straight up science denial. And it's more than a little bit piss-boilingly annoying.
How is it that you have mountains that are made up of bent rocks? You cannot bend hard rock. It will break. It will shatter.
No, if you fucking heat it up, dipshit. And what do you think happens when gigantic fucking land masses get smashed together and slide against each other with a shit ton of friction, causing a shit ton of heat? Not to mention the fact that, you know where the mountains used to be? You know, in the ground, with yet more pressure and heat. It's almost like the shit science says explains this perfectly.
What it means is that these layers would have had to have all been pliable all at the same time and pushed up rapidly through plate tectonics, and that's how you have mountains that are still standing today and in those positions, because all of those layers were pliable during their formation. It's not that slow and gradual change in the Earth's crust caused mountains to be formed.
Holy crap, you know, I'm starting to think that Matt doesn't know dick all about any of the shit he would claim to be debunking. 'Cause that was freaking meaningless gibberish.
Number 7 would be sharks that are buried with dinosaurs in the center of the United States. How is it possible that a wave of water could hit the center of the United States to be able to bury hundreds of thousands of different animals with sea life, sharks, dinosaurs, and so on and so forth, all at dead center of the US?
It wasn't a wave, you freaking numpty. You'll note that sharks, or at least, you know, the ancestors of sharks, well, I imagine we will find that they would have been on a different layer to that of the dinosaurs, because they would have been fossilized while that now a landmass was part of an ocean floor. Oh right, plate tectonics is a thing, and that's exactly what we would have expected to happen.
That means there would have been a globally catastrophic flood that would have been able to hit the center of the United States with waves from the oceanic coast.
This is like a child's version of science. Whatever there is, it must be the thing I want it to be. You know what that's called? It's called presupposing your conclusion. You haven't actually checked if those things got there via some stupid wave. You just decided that's what happens because you think it goes with the thing that you wanted to happen. In fact, that's how all of these work. It's just this one is the most obvious version of it so far.
Number 8, we find whales in the desert. How did they get there? How do you get whale fossils that are preserved? Because remember, a fossil has to be rapidly buried by sediment in order to be preserved. How do you get it in the Sahara Desert?
Well, it sure as shit wasn't just sitting there in loose fucking sand, dipwit. They would have been found, dun dun dun, in rock layers, like everything is. And again, just like last time, the deserts that are now land used to be at the bottom of the ocean. Otherwise, we would find these whales literally fucking everywhere. Not specifically in places that used to be under the water. You know, like the science demonstrates.
The answer is that a globally catastrophic flood called Noah's Flood actually happened and placed whales in the Sahara Desert that we're now finding later on as we do scientific research.
We do scientific research? looking at work that other people have done and have worked out actual answers to, and then saying, nah, they're wrong because my books say they're wrong, is not fucking scientific research. At best, it's intellectual laziness of the highest order. But I think that gives you too much credit, seeing as it uses the word intellectual, and that you ain't, mate.
Number 9, fossils. Think about it.
Ha! That is both a ha for the notion that fossils do anything but completely undermine your case, and a ha for you using the words think about it. Those are our words, dumbass. They aren't for you, and I would greatly appreciate it if you stopped using them. That, or you thinked about it. But I just know that is asking way too much at this juncture.
Fossils require rapid burial in order to be preserved.
Cough. And millions of fucking years to form. Cough, cough.
So if you're finding things like fossilized ichthyosaurs giving birth, what that tells you is that it doesn't take 10,000 years to get a fossil, like Darwinists assume.
Assuming that Darwinists mean people who know what the hell they are talking about, you know that childbirth is quite dangerous? Even humans with all their technology and often several people trying to make sure nothing goes wrong during labor, but mothers and children die in that action all the time. So what exactly the fuck makes you think it never happened in the wild? You unimaginable fuckwit. But no, it couldn't be that simple and obvious explanation. It had to be an impossible global flood. That's the only thing that makes sense, apart from the fact that it makes no fucking sense. If I wasn't already famously a drunk individual, you would, in fact, drive me to drink.
It only takes a few moments in some cases. That would be an awfully long birth if it actually took that long for that fossil to form.
They were already dead, you moron. Like all the brain cells in that vacuous chasm you call a head.
You find fossilized schools of fish that are all together. We find fossilized fish eating other fish. Does it take 10,000 plus years to have a meal?
He has all the information that he needs to understand what else could have possibly happened. He knows that things don't live that long. Although, then again, he thinks Noah was nearly 1,000 years old? So he probably does think that that's the case, and demonstrates just how little he understands about the functioning of biological organisms. If all this hadn't clued you in already anyway, they were dead. Something else killed them while they were eating, or while that school of fish was swimming about, and something else killed them en masse, like a lightning strike or a toxic volcanic vent, or all sorts of other shit that kills things. Because again, it happens all the time. You are just the least curious mind I have ever encountered. You never even try to falsify your beliefs, do you, Matt? God, you depress me.
These organisms were buried so quickly that they were buried in the act of whatever they were doing. You have a school of fish sticking together, and they didn't even have time to scatter because they were buried so quickly by the flood of Noah.
Nothing has ever died whilst doing something else. You heard it here first, guys. What an absolute jackass.
Number 10.
Alright, last one, and it better be a good one, or I'm seriously gonna have to consider never covering you again. Who am I kidding? There's no one on earth that I can rely on to so thoroughly and consistently be fucking stupid as you are, Matt.
We find cold rock that has been subducted into the hot molten mantle of the earth. And this, I would say, is probably the most powerful piece of evidence for Noah's flood.
I don't fucking know, dude, and at this point I cannot be fucked to go and find out the science that will in fact immediately debunk you. But maybe I'll stick an explanation up here while I'm editing this shit later. But it doesn't fucking matter, does it? Because you can't just decide that the science you have been pretending is fake this whole time suddenly supports you. Science is generally holistic. The explanations all lead into each other. Plate tectonics makes sense with fossils, which makes sense with layers, which makes sense with all sorts of other shit as well. Whereas everything you have said so far doesn't even make sense within itself, let alone actual science. And that's because, Matt, Noah's flood never fucking happened. Capiche?
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel, Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the